Florida, just the name alone brings to mind white sand beaches, swaying palm trees, and a life glowing under endless sunshine. The Florida they sell you, where lizards do push-ups on your porch, and everything feels alive, fast, and full of promise. But hold on, that's not the full story, because behind the shine, there's another Florida quietly breathing in the shadows. A Florida that never makes it onto postcards, never shows up in real estate ads, and only gets mentioned when it's already too late. These are places where the AC breaks more often than it works. Jobs disappeared years ago, and hope clocks out early, every single day. I'm not talking about Miami traffic or Florida politics that feel like a wildlife documentary. I'm talking about towns you've never heard of, and honestly, that might be the luckiest thing about you. Today we're diving into the 5 worst places to live in Florida. But pause for a second. This isn't your typical list. These aren't the cities everyone loves to hate. These are the towns time itself quietly walked away from. Places with stunning views, glowing lakes, and skies that look unreal. But the numbers? They're absolutely brutal. One town where football is the only escape because the economy already gave up. Another where the water smells so bad, it feels like stepping straight back into the 1980s. Think you know Florida? Prove it, because the worst place to live isn't always where crime is highest. Sometimes the most dangerous place is the one where silence is screaming. And trust me, there's one town on this list that isn't just struggling. It's seriously asking the question, should we even still exist? One wrong move could cost you thousands of dollars, or your peace of mind, your time, and maybe even your sanity. And so if you want to avoid moving into a disaster before it happens, hit that subscribe button now, because this video will show you what no real estate agent will ever tell you. Let's pull back the curtain. This is the side of Florida you've never seen. Number 5, Pahokee, where the land grows everything except an economy. They say the soil here can grow anything. Sugarcane, corn, dreams. Just not a functioning economy. Pahokee sits on the southeastern edge of Lake Okeechobee, wrapped in quiet beauty and heavy air. It's peaceful. It's scenic. And it's hiding more untold stories than a courthouse on a Friday afternoon. On paper, Pahokee looks like it should be thriving. Endless farmland, lakefront access, and a football legacy so strong that NFL scouts treat this town like a pilgrimage site. You'd expect growth, opportunity, momentum, but reality hits harder than the humidity. At its worst, unemployment here has surged as high as 35%. The median household income hovers around $30,000, nearly half the Florida average. City infrastructure struggles under chronic underfunding. Road repairs get delayed. Utility systems limp along, and as the population slowly declines, the tax base shrinks right along with it. Crime in Pahokee doesn't explode into headlines. It simmers, the kind tied directly to economic stagnation, not chaos. A slow burn that wears people down instead of scaring them away. Politically, the town feels stuck in limbo. County oversight, state grants, federal promises. All of them arrive slower than a Florida DMV line on a Monday morning. Residents have watched development plans stall, funding disappear, and deals dissolve before they ever touch the ground. The same question keeps coming back. Who's actually steering this place? One local Reddit comment summed it up perfectly. Pahokee is where ambition goes to sweat while waiting on city funding. And yet somehow, this town keeps producing elite football talent at a shocking rate. When escape feels impossible, football becomes the exit ramp. The field becomes the future. For many kids here, it's not a game, it's a lifeline. Living in Pahokee isn't a disaster movie. It's a slow, quiet documentary about what happens when systems fail without making noise. You feel it in the water bills that keep climbing, in the roads that never quite get resurfaced, in city projects pushed into the next fiscal year, again, in job listings that look like they were written a decade ago and forgotten. Step outside at sunrise. The lake glows gold. A heron glides across the water. The air smells like damp sugarcane and gasoline. It's beautiful. Then the cane-burning smoke drifts in. The buses rattle past. And you remember the nearest full grocery store isn't a walk and it's a drive. Pahokee isn't hopeless. It's exhausted. It's paradise, with fine print no one warns you about. Number 4, Belle Glade, rich soil, poor streets. Belle Glade. They like to say here, her soil is her fortune. Sounds powerful, right? So here's the real question. If the soil is that rich, where did the money go? Because Belle Glade sits at the very heart of Florida's sugar empire. This town helps produce billions of dollars worth of sugar every single year. The crops are massive, the profits are enormous, and the people? They're barely scraping by. Let's talk numbers, because the numbers tell a brutal story. The median household income sits around $26,000. The poverty rate hovers near 35%, more than double the national average. Violent crime runs over 60% higher than the US average. And affordable rental housing? Extremely limited, and in many cases barely livable. Here's the part no brochure will tell you. Palm Beach County generates enormous wealth from Belle Glade's agricultural output, but very little of that money ever cycles back into the city itself. What you get instead is a textbook case of resource extraction. The value leaves, the revenue leaves, and the problems stay right where they are. Drive past miles of golden sugarcane fields glowing in the sun. They look endless. They look expensive. Then you enter town. Cracked sidewalks, flickering streetlights, failing infrastructure, schools running on thin budgets and thinner patience. Local government weighed down by years of criticism over mismanagement, stalled revitalization plans, and funding that never seems to arrive. Belle Glade isn't poor because it produces nothing. It's poor because what it produces doesn't benefit the people who live here. This is the kind of place where you can stand next to $1 billion crop, while your streetlight hasn't worked in years, and your neighbor's roof is held together by hope and a single blue tarp. The contrast is impossible to ignore. Golden fields on the horizon, broken streetlights overhead, luxury profits somewhere else. Daily survival right here. Florida moved forward. Highways expanded. Tourism exploded. Cities modernized. And Belle Glade? It got left behind, quietly, slowly, and almost on purpose. This isn't a town that failed overnight. It's a town that was ignored for decades. Belle Glade isn't just struggling. It's being drained. Rich land. Empty pockets. This is what happens when the soil gets rich and the streets don't. Number 3, Century, the town where time never came back. Century, population roughly 1,700 people, and that number keeps shrinking quietly, year after year. This isn't just a small town tucked away in Florida. Century feels like a place where time showed up once, and then never returned. You drive in expecting something historic. A classic southern town, old diners, front porches, a sense of pride. Instead, what you find feels unfinished, like the town paused mid-sentence and never hit play again. Century doesn't scream poverty. It whispers neglect. The median household income hovers around $30,000. More than 33% of residents live below the poverty line. And in 2019, state auditors uncovered hundreds of thousands of dollars in missing or mismanaged funds, money that simply vanished from city records. That's not a rumor. That's documented. Water systems leak. Roads crumble faster than they're repaired. Power reliability is inconsistent. And the internet? So slow it feels like the town opted out of the modern world on purpose. But here's the moment that defines Century. City leaders openly discussed whether the town should officially dissolve itself. Not merge, not rebuild, not reinvent, but stop existing altogether. Think about that. When a town starts asking, should we still be a town? You're no longer dealing with decline. You're dealing with resignation. Local government meetings don't feel like leadership sessions. They feel like support groups. Decisions stall. Plans get postponed. Responsibility blurs. At times, it's genuinely unclear who's in charge, or if anyone actually wants the job, and you can see it everywhere. There are random paved parking lots with no buildings attached, as if something was supposed to be built. Funding was approved, and then the project died halfway through. The roads don't just have potholes, they fight back. Every drive feels like your tires are being tested for loyalty. Living in Century isn't dramatic. There are no sirens, no chaos, no viral headlines. It's worse. It's mentally draining. City services operate on minimal staffing and maximum patience. Economic development plans sit in folders that haven't been opened in years. Job opportunities are so scarce that even discount stores struggle to hire. You step outside in the morning. Pine trees line the road. Cicadas hum in the background. The air smells like damp grass and forgotten paperwork. You wave at a neighbor. Or maybe it was just a curtain shifting in the window. The mailbox is empty. Again, Century doesn't feel dangerous. It feels tired. Tired of audits. Tired of promises. Tired of waiting for help that never quite arrives. It's not collapsing in flames. It's fading. Slowly, quietly, and almost politely. This isn't a town stuck in the past. This is a town that never made it back from it. And that's what makes Century one of the most unsettling places on this list. Number 2. Frostproof. A name that promised warmth and delivered a freeze. Frostproof. Frostproof. Even the name feels comforting. Like a guarantee carved into stone. A place immune to cold, hardship, and bad luck. But that promise was never meant for people. It was meant for investors. Back in 1915, the name Frostproof was a marketing trick, no? A bold pitch to citrus growers. Your crops won't freeze here, they said. Your money is safe. For a while, the lie worked. Or at least it looked like it did. Then came citrus greening. Then hurricanes. Then rising costs, shrinking margins, and industries quietly pulling out. What didn't leave immediately, slowly withered. Today, Frostproof feels less like a town and more like a pause button that never got pressed again. The median household income sits around $37,000, far below Florida's average. Roughly 1 in 4 residents lives below the poverty line. Violent crime rates hover at nearly double the national average. Not because the town is chaotic, but because stagnation breeds desperation. And healthcare? If something serious happens, you're driving. A long drive. One Reddit user described it perfectly. It's a peaceful place to die of boredom or bad infrastructure. That line hits hard because it captures Frostproof's real danger. This place doesn't shock you. It slowly drains you. Jobs are scarce and mostly seasonal. Agriculture, packing houses, short-term labor. After the citrus industry collapsed, replacements never fully arrived. Wages stayed frozen while costs crept up. Public services run on thin budgets and thinner margins. At first glance, Frostproof almost charms you. Small single-story homes. Older residents who wave because they recognize everyone. Quiet streets where nothing seems urgent, but charm doesn't pay rent. And quiet doesn't build futures. Downtown looks like a photograph that faded in the sun. One antique store clinging to the past. One gas station doing triple duty as a store, a hangout, and a rumor mill. One cafe that closes at 3 p.m. As if the town collectively agreed the day ends after lunch. Try to do anything after that. Good luck. Then there are the roads. Potholes stacked on potholes. So many that driving through. Frostproof feels like a badly designed video game level. Dodge. Swerve, brake, repeat. Your suspension gets more exercise than the local economy. Internet service is unreliable. Cell signals drop without warning. If you find a strong connection, you treat it like survival equipment. Wake up early in Frostproof. No alarm clock. Just a rooster somewhere in the distance. The sky turns soft orange. The air smells like sun-baked grass, dust, and diesel. It feels calm. Almost peaceful. Number 1. Fort Meade. A town frozen in time. Fort Meade. Fort Meade wasn't always quiet. There was a time when railroads thundered through the streets. Phosphate trucks carried fortunes, and trade hummed like electricity through every corner of the town. It mattered. It moved. It had purpose. Then the highways were built. And progress bypassed it. Fast cars, commerce, tourism, all routed elsewhere. Fort Meade stayed. Still quiet, waiting. Today the town has a population of roughly 5,000 people, though many have quietly left over the years, chasing opportunity down roads that Fort Meade can't offer. The median household income hovers near $38,000. Modest, barely keeping pace with life's rising costs. Nearly 23% of residents live below the poverty line, scraping by as schools struggle with tight budgets, underpaid teachers, and aging facilities. Fort Meade doesn't collapse. It doesn't implode in chaos. It stagnates. It lingers, like a memory trapped in amber. Downtown feels like a preserved postcard. Buildings with peeling paint, rusty signs, and empty storefronts line the streets. Shops open late, close early, rarely update their windows. The economy shuffles forward in slow motion. Agriculture, seasonal work, a few service jobs, and hope, sometimes enough, often not. And yet, for all the quiet, the town still makes headlines. One of the biggest recent developments, a Dollar Tree opening right across from a Family Dollar. The most significant growth in years is 2 discount stores in competition. It's almost absurd. It's also telling. There's no protest, no outrage, no dramatic exit, just fatigue. Residents aren't angry at Fort Meade. They're tired of waiting for the future to arrive, tired of seeing development plans that exist only as ideas on whiteboards, funding that barely trickles in, and investors who pass it by. Walk through the streets at sunrise. Hear the cicadas hum instead of traffic. Smell pine needles, humidity, and the faint scent of old paper from closed shops. You wave at the same neighbor you've waved at for decades. The calm is almost beautiful. Until you remember that opportunity. Real work and higher education are 30 miles away, down roads that don't lead back to Fort Meade. Schools operate on tight budgets. Playgrounds are empty or worn. Parks and streets are maintained as best they can be. But every pothole, every flickering streetlight, every aging roof tells the same story. Fort Meade doesn't fail spectacularly. It lingers, quietly, dragging time along with it. It doesn't punish. It doesn't scream. It seduces you into acceptance, to settle for what's left behind, to convince you that nostalgia, quiet streets, and golden sunsets are enough, even when opportunity lies elsewhere.